that means our grand prize winner, and the winner of $10,000 is Dana Cassidy from the University of Florida. That means our $10,000 grand prize winner is Team DeVeris of the University of Missouri. That means our grand prize winner is Team Footprint AI from Northwestern University. Congratulations, guys.
Live from the Reynolds Journalism Institute in Columbia, Missouri, it's the 18th annual RJI Student Innovation Competition Award Show. Featuring students from California, Georgia, and New York. And your hosts, Kat Duncan and Randy Pick. Ladies and gentlemen, Randy Pick.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reynolds Journalism Institute Student Innovation Competition. This year, we threw down a challenge to student teams nationwide: tackle the growing issue of news avoidance. We asked them to develop open source tools that help community news organizations re-engage audiences with journalism that matters. But we didn't stop at ideas. We wanted action. Each team partnered with a news organization to test their solutions in the field. After months of hard work, brainstorming, building, and refining, we're here today to celebrate their achievements. We have 6 outstanding finalist teams vying for the top spots and a grand prize of $10,000. Let's meet them.
I'm Alex Clavens.
I'm Justine Landis.
I'm Roman Brishkovsky.
I'm Ricky Setti.
I'm Eleanor Hildebrand.
I'm CJ Robinson.
I'm Zach.
I'm Anch.
I'm Cameron.
I'm Layla.
I'm Archana.
My name is Leah.
I'm Young.
I'm Shen.
I'm Akila Edwards.
I'm Allison Mon.
We're the team behind Here Today, a daily interactive text message that sends our users the news they need to know.
We are Team Rarifiers. We partnered with Iowa Capital Dispatch, and we focus on simplifying news websites to make them less overwhelming for a variety of audiences.
We're Team
Headline Hackers.
Based on some lack of engagement we saw on our social media channels, we wanted to bring more referrals into our website and more engagement to our social media.
So we used gamification to create a fully custom-coded quiz to bring more engagement and page views to our website, mustangnews.net.
We created News Anchor, which is an AI-powered news app that will serve as a personalized news aggregator. It has a news anchor who will read the news directly to you in a short-form, vertical scrolling format, and will also direct you to the sources from which we pulled to create that deepfake news anchor.
Our product is News Now, an easy-to-use widget that lives on users' home screens and allows them to directly connect to stories from the topics and outlets of their choice without the invasiveness of notifications or the intrusiveness of the 24-hour news cycle.
So our product FlipHub is an AI-powered news summarizer to help consume news through keyword exploration and a flashcard summary. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's our presentation, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue to grow news engagement.
And that was our presentation. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Now, before we introduce our judges, we want to hear from someone who has been the driving force behind this competition. Please welcome Kat Duncan, Director of Innovation at RJI and coordinator of this year's and every year's Student Innovation Competition. Welcome, Kat.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Boy, the students, that video just showed that they really outdid themselves this year.
They did. Every team did impressive work this year. They built SMS systems, web apps, widgets. They all did incredible projects that built tools that helped local newsrooms reach their audiences.
And I bet their whole presentations are even more impressive.
Yes, each team did a full presentation for the judges, and those are online at rjionline.org. If anybody would like to catch them there, they are on the voting page.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the judges?
Sure. So first up is Kimberly Griffin. She's the founding publisher and CRO of the Mississippi Free Press with over 2 decades of experience in media strategy. Kimberly is also a part of Poynter's Media Transformation Challenge, helping expand access to news in underserved regions. Next up is Ashlyn Lapore-Rusi. Ashlyn is the creator and host of Ask Ashlyn, a social media and SMS tool that makes the news feel like a conversation with a trusted friend. She's on the front lines of rethinking how we engage audiences. And finally, Alicia Ramirez. Alicia is the founder and publisher of the Riverside Record, a nonprofit news outlet serving Riverside County, California. She also leads Inland Empire Publications, supporting community journalism from the ground up. These 3 brought insight, heart, and a shared commitment to journalism's future. Let's hear directly from them about what stood out this year. Welcome to the 18th annual RJI Student Innovation Competition. We're so excited to have you 3 as our expert industry judges this year. So tell us a little bit about this year's challenge. This year's challenge was news avoidance. Why and how is that such a big problem for newsrooms in the U.S.?
I think as the media landscape has shifted in the ways that we've seen it shift in the past few years, more and more people are feeling overwhelmed by the news content that they see. Perhaps they still want to be tapped into their immediate communities and to the world at large, but the way that social media has worked and the way that the 24-hour news cycle has pushed us into kind of these constant silos where you're surrounded by news all the time is putting people in a very difficult position of still wanting to be informed but feeling like they need to step away to protect their mental health. The projects that we saw this year did such a good job of creating tools that would really help people with whatever their accessibility needs are, with whatever their mode of connecting with news is, whether it's mobile, whether it's text message based, whether it's online. They really all just approach the issue from such thoughtful places with the end goal of helping people consume news better in mind. And we were so impressed with that.
When people avoid news, they're going to the polls with no information, or they're making decisions in their daily lives without all the information. And I think some of that's the media landscape's fault. Some of that's the 24-hour news cycle that we talk about, and the polarization of how we're delivering news, and the sensationalism, and it leads, it bleeds, and so as that has increased, people have decreased what they're willing to engage in. We all have products where we're trying to help people engage in a different way, but I think news avoidance hurts our country. Because people don't exactly know why things are important or why they should care about things.
So why don't we talk a little bit about the teams who didn't place in the top 3? I know we had a lot of great teams this year. What do you think that the other teams did really well, and where they could maybe work on their ideas a little bit, if you had advice for them?
Yeah, so we saw some teams that had really great research. Mm-hmm. They were supported by focus groups, or they were supported by a ton of academic research into how to tackle this issue of news avoidance in a way that supported newsrooms. But at the end of the day, it was not something that we could see, especially small local newsrooms, being able to adopt in a way that was meaningful and sustainable and possible for their business.
I also think a hole that journalists can often fall into is asking other journalists about their product rather than asking people who are not journalists about their product, because as journalists, we have a higher tolerance for news anyway. This is our chosen career. This is our trade. So we have our own boundaries and ways of processing news that affect our judgment about tools that could be out there, because we can see an idea and say, this is great, this absolutely streamlines this, but not recognize that someone who doesn't pay attention to news, someone who might have less access to internet, someone who might have less of a tendency to want to deep dive into information might not feel that same way about the product, but could if there were just some minor tweaks or some minor adjustments or some feedback from people that are not already coming from a journalistic perspective.
That's great advice from our judges. Once again, thank you, Kat, and thank you, judges, for your invaluable insights and for taking on the challenging task of selecting our winners. Now, before we announce the top 3 teams, let's quickly review the criteria the judges used to make their decisions. Here they are. Idea. Was it based on research and a clear community need? Implementation. Did they build it and meet their goals? Measuring success. How did they track impact? Reach. Could it work in other communities? And sustainability. Will it last beyond the competition? These are the key factors that helped our judges select the most impactful projects. And now, let's kick things off with the Fan Favorite Award. Kat, can you help me out?
Sure, Andy. We invited the public to vote for their favorite project, and the response was overwhelming. The Fan Favorite Award goes to News Anchor from Cal Poly. Congratulations. You clearly struck a chord with the audience. Why do you guys think your project resonated so strongly with our voters?
I think it comes from us interviewing a lot of people near us to make sure we made something that people cared about and just trying to make it easy and fun for people. We wanted to use humor to make the news a little more enjoyable. So
I think we incorporated a lot of like modern technology that people are getting more and more used to. And I think people liked to see that there was something new and different than the way they were already consuming news.
So what do you guys see as the next step for News Anchor? How are you going to turn the fan excitement into real-world impact?
I think we're going to finish up with our closed beta that we announced and try to create something bigger and then look into some slight monetization options so that way we can keep it as sustainable as possible, just enough to keep it going, so that way we can keep trying to expand and have an impact on all these people that care.
Great, thank you. And once again, congratulations on winning our Fan Favorite Award. Randy?
And now it's time to announce our 3 finalist teams. In no particular order, they are Flea Pop, Rarifier, and Here Today. Congratulations to all 3 teams. But before we reveal who placed where and won the $10,000, we want to give each team a chance to share more about their work. So Here Today, so one of the issues with news avoidance is trying to find a balance between overwhelming but also missing out. So Here Today, how did you guys arrive at the number 3 in terms of how many headlines you're going to give people each day?
I think that we were debating what kind of content would be essential for people to know. And so for us, we felt that a local story for people in New York, for our dedicated audience here at Columbia, would be important. A national story would be really important to keep track of. But also we wanted to have space for there to be student reporting that was shared to our audiences because we were partnering with Columbia News Service.
And one other thing I'll add is that our product is fundamentally based around a text message, and we wanted to make sure that your daily update can fit inside a text message, not some long scrolling message that is, could be understood as an essay. We wanted this to be something you pull up on your phone, it's easily digestible, and that was a number we kind of arrived at.
We did a lot of test texting to each other to see what would fit.
Yeah.
Include limitations on headline length and things like that.
Yeah, that's great. All right, and Rarifiers, you guys kind of took a little different approach in giving users a little more control over what they want to do using the browser extension. So what was your thought process in terms of taking that approach?
So we decided to narrow down a complicated news page to start to allow people to engage with news from the website more easily, so it wasn't as distracting or overwhelming to different people. But there also was that personalization aspect where you could add certain beats that you're interested in, certain types of articles, whether it's crime or immigration, education, things like that. So then you can engage with things you're not only more interested in, but the news that is important for your day-to-day.
Yeah, we wanted that mix of editorial judgment, those masthead categories, and then allowed users to tack on their own personal ideas.
Yeah, makes sense. Very good. And Fleepop, you had a lot of AI kind of approach, and terrific in terms of summarizing and doing some of the work. So, what was some of the feedback you got from that kind of strategy?
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of like positive feedback about the ease of use and the engaging way to consume news, but also some places to improve, like a mobile version. So people are asking to make it more mobile friendly for some on-the-go readers. And about the number of bubbles, people say like I would like maybe 10 to 12 bubbles to consume the news better. Yeah.
Yeah. People always have helpful suggestions, right?
Yeah, that's how we iterate the product and make it better.
That's right. All right, well, thank you, teams. Your projects were amazing, and I know the judges had a challenge to try to figure out where projects finish. So anyway, kept you waiting long enough. These projects not only innovative, but they're inspiring. So let me start by announcing the third place team and the winner of $1,000. The team impressed the judges with your thoughtful and user-focused approach. In fact, let's hear what the judges had to say.
So Kimberly, why don't you tell us why the third place team won?
Well, the third place winners really thought through a lot of the challenges. It's one of the things I really liked about them is they had vetted the product so well that they could answer questions on the fly. The product they created has a low barrier of entry, and I think a number of consumers and newsrooms will be able to adopt it without any complicated technical skills, which I think is what independent media needs today. It's what consumers need, technology that's easy to adopt and to integrate into your daily life.
And the third place award goes to Rarifier from Columbia University. Congratulations.
And now we go to our second place team. Our second place team stood out with a creative and relevant product. Here's what the judges thought. Ashlyn, tell us about our second place winners this year.
The second place winners had an incredibly well thought out product. I mean, it was just brilliant from start to finish in the way that they conceived the idea to the way that they constructed it using the technology that was at their disposal. And we all felt so confident in their product and the success that they would see with that product and the impact that it could have on people across the world, honestly, if they were able to implement it in that many ways. And we were just so impressed with the vision that they had and the execution that they had.
And the second place award goes to Fleepop from University of Southern California.
And that means our grand prize winner, taking home $10,000, is here today from Columbia University. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much. We're in shock.
Before we chat and before we hear from you guys, let's check out what the judges had to say about your awesome project.
Alicia, tell us about the first place $10,000 winners. Why did they win?
Our first place winners were so thoughtful and so caring. They really thought through their product from start to finish, from how it's going to integrate into a newsroom, to how it's going to be delivered to the person who's receiving it, to how they are going to understand their feedback and what is happening with those relationships with their audiences as well as the newsrooms. It was truly one of the best thought out ideas that we saw this year.
All right. Well, thank you guys. So tell me, and I guess you could say it's a tie, but what was harder, coming up with the idea or getting it done through the implementation?
Well, all credit to the idea goes to Justine, who was inspired by a product that had been tested and received really great feedback back in her homeland of Australia.
And Facebook Messenger, that one. So that was what inspired us.
Yeah, and honestly, I was skeptical at first. I wasn't sure if this was something that audiences in the US would be interested in. But with some initial research, we convinced ourselves that this was something we wanted to try. The implementation itself was quite difficult. I'm a software engineer professionally, but I do things that are very different in my day-to-day job from implementing something like here today. We had to manage tracking different users, integrating with a third-party content management system, dealing with awkward regulatory restrictions around how messages get sent, including, well, this isn't regulatory, but we had to pivot to WhatsApp at some point just to sort of get the ball rolling. And then WhatsApp would randomly decide to give us some trouble there. But ultimately, we were able to get some really great feedback. And my favorite part of the whole thing is that an editor who interacts with Here Today and wants to send out a newsletter needs to know nothing about the implementation. They simply operate in a content management system, hit publish, and the text goes out. And then from there, users are engaging.
Yeah, so easy to implement, easy to produce, and easy to consume, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think such credit goes to Alex Clavens because he was thinking the whole time, like, how do we make this so easy for a newsroom to implement? How do we make it easy for someone to receive and sign up? And yeah, it's been a huge highlight of my time at journalism school to get to work with him.
Oh,
right back at you.
So what advice would you have for the teams next year in terms of how they should compete and kind of participate?
I think something that we felt going into it was that we just wanted to have like a lot of fun and learn as much as we could. And I think when we were choosing, we had a couple of ideas for what our product could be. And when we were choosing it, we were thinking, well, what would we love to see in our daily lives? What would we love to try and build that would be challenging for us, but also possible? And ultimately, what could we build that we feel passionate about and could be proud of at the end of the day? Because, you know, win or lose, you want to feel like you've spent this time well. So I think that would be one suggestion. And I think the other would be to really think about how quickly the journalism landscape is evolving, but can we use older technologies to create change and create accessibility? We had some questions along the way of like, why a text message? Like, will people want to text back 1, 2, or 3? Is that exciting enough in today's landscape? And yeah, I think the feedback we heard is people also want simplicity. So to think simple as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would add there is willingness to pivot.
Yes.
We had an initial idea that wasn't even related to text messages, and we pivoted because we felt that this was going to be more streamlined and something that would be more relevant to people in our community. I mentioned the example of us wanting to pivot to WhatsApp, not in a permanent sense, because that's not where most Americans are to receive their news or talk to their friends. But in our community, the publication that we partnered with was at the Columbia Journalism School. WhatsApp is a very popular tool. And so we recognized the opportunity where, okay, maybe we had a bit of a bump in the road with texts, but we have this opportunity in front of us with WhatsApp. I think the willingness to sort of keep moving forward and validating ideas kind of on the fly was powerful and really helped us kind of learn how to do this as we were building it.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are a good example of not only willingness to pivot, but embracing the pivot, because you did a lot of pivoting, and it worked out. So anyway, well, thank you again for participating, and congratulations on winning. And we'll look forward to what's next for Here Today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, to all our participants, thank you for your hard work, creativity, and commitment to the future of journalism. Your ideas and energy are exactly what this industry needs. For more information about these projects and the Reynolds Journalism Institute, visit rjionline.org. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.